Hi, this is Jamie Arenthal with your vinyasa practice. Remember, use props, right? Straps, blocks, chairs, whatever you need to make every pose accessible to you. The goal is to fit the pose to your body rather than the other way around. Here we go. So let's begin in a seated position. I will use a block, and you can do that as well. If sitting cross-legged doesn't work for you, modify it. If you are sitting flat on the floor, go ahead and use your hands to move the flesh of your buttocks back and behind you, making a connection for your sit bones to the earth or your mat. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. Try that again. Deep breath in. Let it go. Beautiful. Close your eyes here. We're breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And just take a moment to set an intention for our yoga practice today. Whatever first comes to mind is usually best. If nothing comes to mind, you can borrow ahimsa, the Sanskrit word for nonviolence. It's actually one of the Yogi 10 commandments, as in thou shalt not kill would be like the Judeo-Christian 10 commandments. So we think of ahimsa as kindness, compassion, nourishing, really love. So we bring a little bit of love and compassion to our practice. And when that inner critic rises up, we can counter it with thoughts and words that we might say to our best friend. Like, you're doing great. I'm so proud of you. Oh, that's okay. Try that again. So go ahead and set your intention. You can bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart, practicing Dirga Pranayama, 3-part breath. Exhale everything out. Inhale first into your belly, next into your rib cage, and then all the way up to your collarbones. Sip, sip, sip that air in. Exhale from the top down. So first from collarbones, next from rib cage, and last from belly. Continue like this. Inhale 1 to the belly, 2 to the chest and ribs, 3 to the collarbone. Exhale 3, 2, 1. Continue at your own speed or follow me. Inhale 1, belly, 2, ribs, 3, collarbone. Exhale 3, 2, 1. Feel free to release your hands to your knees. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Exhale 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Exhale 3, 2, 1. A few more times on your own. When you're ready, return to your normal breath, still breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. Take a body scan here. Notice how you feel, maybe a little less jittery or anxious, a little more settled in, connected. As we inhale, we elongate and lighten. As we exhale, we ground and deepen. So inhale, reach your arms up. You can float your eyes open if you like. And exhale, bringing prayer hands to heart center. Deep breath in, bring the prayer hands up. And this time, exhale over to your right side. So anchoring those right fingers and gently bowing. Inhale back to center, really get long here, look up. And exhale, centering breath to your heart. Deep breath in, raise your prayer up. Exhale over to your left side. So anchor those left fingers and bow. Inhale, center. Exhale, prayer to heart. Repeating. Deep breath in, over to your right side. Inhale, center. Prayer to heart. Raise that prayer and bow to your left. Inhaling, center. Prayer to your heart. So changing it up. Deep breath in. You could separate hands shoulder width and twist over to the right side, anchoring the fingers. So left fingers on right knee and your right fingers are behind you. And then gently swivel your gaze to the back of the room. As you inhale, raise those arms up. Exhale, heart center, grounding. Deep breath in, elongating. Separate hands and twist to your left. So right hand on left knee, left hand directly behind you, and then gently swivel your gaze to the back of your room. Inhaling, center. Exhaling, heart. Repeating. Deep breath in, twist right. Think of pulling your belly button in to help that twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, heart. One more. Stretch up tall, inhale. Twist to your left. Belly button in. And then back to center. And exhale, heart. So we'll try and do a little seated cat-cow. If you have the block, you want to move it out of your way. Hands beneath the thighs. Inhale, lift your heart up. So we're pulling the shoulder blades behind us, like a little bit of cow pose. And as we exhale, tuck your chin, tuck your tail, pull your belly button in, gaze to your navel. This is our cat pose. Inhale, coming up to cow. Exhale, back to cat. Inhaling, and on the exhale, feel free to use your bandhas. So there's Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then inhale, release all those locks. So a bandha is a lock. So exhale, root lock. So it's like stopping the flow of urine for women. And then release it as you inhale for cow. Exhale, belly lock. So pull the belly button to your spine. That's Uddiyana Bandha. And then release it as you come back to that cow. And then the third one is at your chin. So exhale and tuck your chin to your chest, Jalandhara Bandha, and then release it, inhale. And then all three locks. So it's that Mula Bandha at the root, Uddiyana Bandha at the belly, Jalandhara Bandha at the throat. And then back up, releasing them, look up. One more time like that. Exhale, all three of those bandhas. And then back to that cow. Really nice. And then take the soles of your feet together. Again, you may need to reposition those buttocks. Grab your asana. I did not make that up. Hands on your ankles, lift your heart up. And as you exhale, your elbows bend, maybe even connecting to those knees as you bow forward. And it's not about how far apart your knees go or how close your face goes to your feet. It's just releasing through the back of the neck, lengthening through the lumbar spine, and maybe releasing those inner thighs just a little bit. And then hands to the floor, gently lift yourself up. You can cross your feet at the ankles, roll to all fours. Sitting back on your heels in child's pose, balasana. So child's pose is a nice resting pose, doesn't work for everyone, so modify it. There is puppy pose. Curl the toes under, lift your tush up a little bit more, and then see if you can lower your head between your hands. So it's really like halfway between downward facing dog and child's pose. So that might be a little bit more accessible to you. And then go ahead and let's lift our knees and come to downward facing dog. So initially our knees can be bent, right? And we're just pedaling those feet like you want to roll out through the bottoms of the soles of your feet, just stretching that Achilles tendon and letting the hips shift side to side. Shake your head no, shake your head yes. And then we'll rise up to tippy toes and inhale forward to a plank. So if this is too challenging, obviously you get to modify. You can place the knees on the floor. For the rest of us, if you can keep those thighs engaged, kneecaps lifted, and then as you exhale, come to downward dog. So inhale forward to your plank. You want to keep the body one straight line. And as you exhale, downward facing dog. See if you could drop the heels a little bit more. Just continue like that, inhaling forward and exhaling back. If you're modifying, it looks more like this. You can relax those toes, right? So it's inhaling forward and exhaling back to child's pose. So inhale forward to plank on your knees. And if you like, you could even turn it into a little bit of a back bend if you like. Pull the belly button in and sit back on your heels. So again, it's really up to you. Plank to down dog or child's pose to modified plank. One more time, and then we'll all come forward, lower your knees, sit back in child's pose. We'll walk our hands over to the right side and lower your head between straight arms. Make sure the elbows are straight. And if you want a little bit more sensation here, you can always take your left hand on top of your right and see if you feel a little bit more through that left side. Again, we're not overdoing, we're just looking for sensation. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and exhale to let something go. Walk your hands through center over to your left side. Again, your elbows straight, lower your head between your hands. And if you want more sensation, right hand this time goes over the left. If that's too much, just separate. Lower your head, make sure no wrinkles in back of neck. And then back to center. Downward facing dog. Let's lift the right leg up. You can keep the hips square, right toes flexed and pointing down for one leg dog. And as you exhale, draw that right knee forward, stepping the right foot between your hands. Feel free to lower that left knee to the floor. Right arm up to the sky for a twisting lunge. You want to push back through the left heel if the left leg is straight, and you want to pull that right shoulder down and away from your ear. One long line from the right fingertips to the heel of the left hand on the floor. And as you exhale, release the hand down and step back to downward facing dog. Pedal your feet. If it feels good, shake your head no, shake your head yes. And then lift the left leg up. Again, square hips, left toes flexed and pointing down. And exhale, left foot comes forward. Option to lower the right knee on the floor, left arm up to the sky. So think about if right leg is straight, you're lifting that kneecap up and pushing that right heel back, stacking that left shoulder over the right. Move that left shoulder away from your ear. You're gazing up if that's possible for you. Nice. Left hand down. Let's step the right foot forward, coming into forward fold. Notice that my knees are soft here so that my fingers can touch the floor. You have other options, right? You can always put some blocks there if that helps you, but Most important to keep that lower back safe, especially early in the practice. Walk fingers up your shins, gaze forward. So we call this flat back, although it's really cow pose, right? Inhaling, lengthening your spine. And then exhaling, pull your belly button in, nose to knees. Inhale again, halfway up. And exhale, forward fold, let it go. And this time, coming halfway up, extending the arms to either side and reversing swan dive. Reaching up nice and tall. You could interlace, I don't think you could see my hands from where we are, but I have my hands interlaced with the pointers up, Kali Mudra, and just engage Mula Bandha. So that's like stopping the flow of urine for women, and take a bow over to one side. Exhale to come up and take a bow over to the other side and exhale to come up. Beautiful. Release the hands by your sides. Having a little pants problem today. Sorry. So we'll start our sun salutations. Keep in mind that you can modify throughout. Inhale the arms up and exhale to swan dive over. Coming halfway up, inhale, and then step your right foot back and then your left foot back, downward facing dog. We'll come through a modified vinyasa to begin. Inhale forward to plank. Exhale, knees, chin, and chest. Keep the elbows narrow, right into your ribs. And as you inhale, onto your belly, remember to glue the tops of your toes to the floor and gently lift chin and chest. Elbows stay nice and bent, pelvis on the floor. Exhale and release. You can walk your fingers out a little further, maybe tenting your fingers, and then inhale, coming up, and exhale, releasing down. One more time like that. Inhale, peel chin and chest away from the floor, and exhale to release. Hands beneath your shoulders, gently press back to your heels, child's pose, and then find downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up, step it forward, left foot follows, forward fold. Halfway up, inhale, and then reverse swan dive. And exhale, hands to your heart. Beautiful. Let's find that Tadasana again. Notice I roll my shoulders up, back, and down, palms face forward. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, swan dive over. Inhale, flat back. And exhale, fold. Now we'll step the left leg back. I am mirroring you. Right foot back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, knees, chin, and chest, elbows in. Inhale, baby cobra. So again, the goal here isn't to force ourselves up. It's really just to peel the chin and chest away and then exhale and lower. And again, you can walk those fingers wide. So the idea here is to take the pressure off your hands. Keep the hands light and let that lift come as much as you can from your thoracic spine by the ribs. And exhale and release down. One more. Inhale, baby cobra. Variation, and exhale, release. Hands beneath the shoulders, bend the knees, hips to heels, child's pose. Downward facing dog. Left leg lifts up and steps forward, right foot follows. Forward fold. Halfway up, inhale, reverse the swan. And exhale, centering breath to your heart. Releasing those hands by your side and circling shoulders back. So moving on, bending the knees, arms by ears, Utkatasana. Exhale, release, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, prepare. So your journey back. So the goal here is to be able to move yourself back so you can go through a vinyasa. But you can either jump as I'm going to do, or you could step your right foot, then your left foot, and then lower down chaturanga, elbows in by your sides, kneecaps lifted, inhaling to the tops of your feet for upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, and then keeping the legs straight, flip the toes, exhale to downward dog. So your journey here, right? If that doesn't make sense for you, modify. It's always available. We'll lift the right leg up, but this time point the right toe, stack right hip over left for down dog split. And as you exhale, right foot between your hands, left heel down, warrior one. Exhale, step back, chaturanga, urdhva mukha, adho mukha. And those three poses are your vinyasa. Left leg up. Again, point the toe this time. Stack left hip over right for down dog split. Exhale, left foot between hands. Right heel down, warrior one. Big breath in. Exhale, your vinyasa. Meeting in downward dog. Take 5 breaths here. You can always rest in child's pose for these breaths. And then to come out of downward dog, you can step right forward, left forward, or look forward, bend your elbows, and come forward between your hands as quietly as you can. Inhale, flat back, and exhale to fold. Bend your knees, arms by ears, chair pose, Utkatasana. And exhale, standing pose, Tadasana. Again, inhale, chair. Exhale, fold. Inhale, prepare. You'll either step left, right, or jump back. Meeting in downward facing dog. Right leg up. Between your hands, warrior one. Vinyasa. Left leg up. And forward, warrior one. Vinyasa. Five breaths here, or in child's pose, whatever you need. Lips touching, eyes open. And then stepping forward, left, right, or quietly coming forward to the front of your mat, flat back, and fold. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, chair. Exhale, stand. Inhale, chair. Exhale, fold. Inhale, prepare. Vinyasa. Right leg. Warrior one. Virabhadrasana. Vinyasa. Exhale your way through. Inhale for the back bend. Exhale, downward facing. Left leg. Virabhadrasana, warrior. Vinyasa. 5 breaths. Looking between hands, either step, step, or hop. Inhale, flat back and fold. Exhale everything out. Inhale, chair. Exhale, stand. One more. Chair. Fold. Prepare. Vinyasa. Right leg, warrior. Vinyasa. Left leg, warrior. Vinyasa. And breathe. Your journey forward. Flat back. And fold. Chair pose. And stand. Tadasana. Bring the hands to your heart. Close your eyes for a moment. And just feel that energy coursing through your body. That is prana, life force. Float your eyes open, preparing for warrior 3. So you can release those arms by your sides, circle those shoulders back and down, and I'll just face sideways so you can see. Let's begin by standing on the right leg, lifting the left knee up. You could hold on under your thigh if you like that. If you want a little bit more, you could raise those arms up. And for those of you who want, without flattening out the lower back, you could extend that left foot forward. Go ahead and start to reach that left foot behind you. Bringing the body, if you would, parallel to the floor. Now, just notice I've got my chairs here, so I can always hold on. Other options, we don't go quite so far. We just come to this point and keep that left toe grounded. And then, of course, an option to keep the arms behind you, palms facing down again. So it's all about keeping the collarbones wide, heart open, back engaged. Maybe the arms are here, like airplane arms. You get to decide. Gaze at an unmoving spot. That's your drishti, your gaze, your focus, your intention. And then to come out of the pose, bend that right knee. See if you can step that left foot back. We'll take a twist here. So left arm forward, right arm back. All right? You could make this more of a twist if you like, or you can lean it back, right hand to the back of the left thigh, for like a Uttita Shanti Virabhadrasana, a revolved peaceful warrior. Yeah. And then if you like, you can always bring that left elbow outside that right knee. It's a little bit stronger of a twist. You get to decide. Maybe even extend those arms out for even more. And then we can release the hands down. Optional vinyasa, only if you want it. Otherwise, you'll step forward. Forward fold. Go ahead and reverse your swan, coming all the way up. And exhale, prayer to heart. Just center yourself here. You can release those arms by your side. Again, shoulders back, chest lifted. This time we'll stand on the left leg, lifting that right knee up and maybe holding on under the thigh. Perfectly valid. Or a little bit more. Or keeping that back in its natural curve, you can extend that right leg forward. Just notice if straightening the leg sort of flattens your back out. We want to keep the pelvis level. And then moving toward that warrior three, start to send that right leg back, bringing yourself parallel with the floor. Options, right? You can hold on. The other option is not to go quite as far, but do keep that one unbroken line here, right? We don't want the upper body bending. We want one long line from that right toe to the top of the head. And variations here include arms back behind you, palms facing down, allowing you to widen those collarbones. Or maybe you like airplane arms out by the side, a little more helpful with balance, right? You get to decide. Your eyes are pinned softly to some unmoving focus point, your drishti. And then to come out of this pose, bend that left knee, step your way back, arms by ears, high lunge. We'll start with an easy twist, right arm forward, left arm back. So you can stay here. It's totally legit, acceptable. You could reach back, left hand on the back of the right thigh for a revolved, peaceful warrior. And you can, if you like, take that right elbow outside the left knee, left hand on top of the right in a prayer and gaze up to the sky. Also an option is to spread your wings, ground the right fingers to the floor, left arm to the sky. So just a little bit more intense. And you can release the hands to the floor. Optional vinyasa. Your journey forward, inhale, flat back, and exhale to fold. Reverse swan dive. And exhale, prayer to the heart. So we'll be coming back to those versions, but maybe through our half moon. So let's begin here. Circle those shoulders back. Let's see if I can mirror you. We'll step the right leg back, turn the toes out, and bend that left knee. So start with warrior one. As you exhale, keep your gaze forward and open those arms and the hips for warrior two. Right, so I'm still gazing over my left fingertips. My right knee is it's my left knee is under my left wrist. You can open up the palm and tip it back to a peaceful warrior. Keep bending that right knee. And there isn't, I think I'm gonna have a hard time mirroring. It's the left knee. You could straighten that left knee if you like. It might look like this. And then we'll bend the left knee, bring that left forearm on to the leg, and bring that right arm by your right ear. I've given up on trying to mirror. You just do what works for you. Good. Keep moving your left ribs forward and your right ribs back, and gently swivel your gaze toward that right armpit. You can stay here, or you can take a half bind. So reaching the hand behind you and onto the top of that left thigh. Remember, if it kind of twists you up like a pretzel, release it. It's not necessary. It's just a little add-on. Keep moving that right shoulder back behind you. And for those of you who want a full bind, you'll reach underneath and then draw yourself back. So we want that left ear over that left knee. Right? So if you find yourself leaning forward, it looks like this. You've just turned that side angle into a forward fold. So we don't want that. We want to straighten the elbows. So the crown of the head is really over that left knee. There you go. So nice. And then go ahead, turn your gaze to the floor. We'll turn ourselves to face that left knee. I'm just going to grab my second block. If you have your blocks available, you want them both here at the top of your mat. And then just draw the back leg in a little bit. So maybe if our warrior stance is about 3 feet, 1, 2, 3 feet wide, now my pyramid stance is a little shorter. Right, I'm bringing that right foot in. My right foot is still turned out on an angle, but you can always square off. And think about pulling back on that left hip crease. We want to inhale, long spine. And as you exhale, drape yourself over that straight left leg. So if you cannot straighten the left leg, again, I've got chairs here. This is a really nice way to do this. Or just keep the blocks on high, right? Wherever you need to be is perfect. Now we're going to convert this pose, and I'll give you a couple ways to do this. Take those blocks and walk them forward to the front corners of your mat. Soften the knee and lift that right leg up. So again, I'm keeping my hips square. My right foot's flexed and the right toes are pointing down. So you can stay right here. This is a supported warrior 3, or you can turn this into half moon. So if you're turning it into half moon, we'll start to turn the right toes out to the side. So my right foot is now parallel with the floor. Whoop, I have this chair in my way, I'm sorry. And your right arm lifts up to the sky. So it's really one long line from your right heel to the crown of your head. And if you can, making it more challenging, you can swivel your gaze up toward your right hand. That will make it more challenging. You get to decide. And for some of us, there's a bind here. You can bend the right knee, reach for that right ankle, and then pull that foot away from your right hand. So you're creating a little bit of tension like a bow and arrow. Right? Maybe that feels good. And again, you're stacking the right hip over the left. So I'm feeling stretch in my left inner thigh. I'm feeling stretch in the front of my right thigh, the hip flexor. I'm feeling stretch in that right shoulder. And then one more variation is going to be Utthita Ardha Chandrasana, or revolved half moon. So we'll release the right foot, bring the right hand onto the block, square off your hips. So again, my foot is flexed and the right toes are pointing down. And from here, I'll take my left arm up to the sky. So if this feels ridiculous for you, here's a variation. Plant the right foot down, make sure the legs are straight, the blocks are under your shoulders, and lift that left arm up. So this is revolved triangle, right? So you can see both legs are straight. My hips are square. They're level to the floor. And then my left arm is lifting up. So that's the variation, right? You can kind of go back and forth and see what you like better, the revolved We're twisting half moon. And then to release it, we'll step back. Again, optional vinyasa. Vinyasa is like a little rinse. And this time we will step the right foot forward, left heel down, warrior one. Keeping your gaze forward, the right arm comes down and your left arm opens for your warrior two. And again, let that left hip open. I have no idea what this looks like behind me. Having a little bit of pants problem. And then you can tip it back to peaceful warrior. Again, in your peaceful warrior, feel free here, if you like, to straighten that right leg. And then we'll bend that right knee, placing that right forearm on that right thigh, side angle, and then extended side angle. Move your right ribs forward and your left ribs back. You are gently tucking your chin and gazing toward your left armpit. And this will help to keep the back of your neck relaxed, unwrinkled. And then we had those variations if you wanted the half bind. So the left hand comes around behind you and lands on that right thigh. And just make sure it doesn't tie you up into a knot, right? We just want to use these binds to deepen the pose, not to warp them or create a problem. And then for those of you who wanted the full bind, you'll reach under and then draw yourself back. So I'm just going to demonstrate it this way. So I'm kind of relaxed here. My right ear is over that right knee. If I go to bind, I have to reach forward into a forward fold, and then I come out of it. And go ahead and straighten your arms as much as you can. And I'll just point out that my hands are not in my groin, right? They're here, they're under my thigh. And that's really important. And again, as best you can, you're looking over that left shoulder, just enjoying that. Lips closed, eyes open. And then when you release, let's make sure our blocks are handy. So go ahead and scoot the left leg a little bit closer. Blocks right beneath your shoulders. And I like to have all my toes pointing in the same direction, but it's your preference. Pull that right hip crease back so that you are nice and level through the pelvis. I'm not sure if I mentioned it here last week, but imagine that you're balancing a teacup on your sacrum. See if you can melt yourself over that right leg. Remember, use your props. Make it work for you. I think one advantage of doing these Zoom classes is that you can't see other people. So there's no compare and despair. Just listen to your own body. Do what's right for you. And then coming out of this pose, we'll bend the front knee. You can bring those blocks to the front corners of your mat and float that left leg up. So we're in a supported warrior three. And the left foot is flexed, toes pointing down. You could stay right here. If you want to turn this into half moon, Ardha Chandrasana, go ahead and start to rotate your toes so that the left foot is now parallel to the floor and the left arm lifts straight up. And if you want more challenge, you can swivel your gaze up toward that left hand. Try and keep that left heel at hip height. One long line from the left heel to the crown of your head. And then for those of you, if you want to try binding, you can bend the left knee, reach for that left ankle with the left hand, and then pull the foot away from your hand, creating that dynamic tension, like a dancer pose on the moon. Dancer on the moon, I like that. Makes me think of Elton John, tiny little dancer. Or tiny dancer, isn't it? And we're going to take this into a revolved half moon, but of course, you'll have choices here. You can release and then come back to your supported warrior three. And maybe, if it makes sense for you, that right arm can lift up, right? If that's really not accessible, you can always place the left foot on the floor, straighten the legs, keep the left hand on the block and raise your right arm up. So you have really a twisting triangle. Both feet planted, both legs straight. So this may be more palatable. And you can come back and forth and just see what you think and see what happens in that half moon, like where's the difference, right? More balance required here, maybe a little bit more leg strength on that right leg, right, to hold you up. You get to decide. And then you can release the hand down. Let's go right into half Maharishi pose from here. So bend the right knee and slip your left knee to the floor outside that right foot and come to sit through. All right, so if this is unachievable, right, this doesn't feel right for you, and the way you'll know that is if the right hip is elevated and you could actually put your hand underneath, you want to be able to glue both sit bones to the floor. And if you can't, no problem, just straighten the left leg out. Right? You could even, if you want less hip stretch, you could place the right foot to the inside of that left thigh. But if you want that hip stretch, we're going to keep that right foot crossed over the left thigh. And again, if you can, you're bending both knees. Just make sure the left toes, the big toe, is glued to the floor, and we'll just gently lift that right knee so it's pointing up toward the sky. Use your left arm as a wrap. You can put the knee in the crook of the elbow, or some of you may go past. What I prefer, I like to have that knee in the crook of the elbow to keep that hip stretch. It's going to help us when we come to pigeon next. So reach that right hand behind you. And again, swivel that right shoulder. You can like lift it up and down, reach it behind you, and tuck chin and revolve your gaze to the back of your room. You're hugging that knee in. If you've got it in the crook of your elbow, you're keeping the right foot flat on the floor. Make sure your right hip bone, the sit bone actually, the ischium, is connected to the mat. Very important. We want to keep the spine straight before we twist it. And any variations are welcome here. So if you have a bind, you can go ahead and do that. And then go ahead and unwind. So I like my little tricky change here. If your left leg is straight, you can bend it and then walk your hands over to your left. So it's really, it's like the counter twist to your Maharishi. And then if you like, hands plant down, swivel on the balls of your feet, walk your hands around. We're going counterclockwise here. and then come to your half Maharishi on the other side. So if that didn't work for you, right, you can always just simply cross that left leg over the right thigh. You could always keep the left foot on the inside of that thigh, but for more hip stretch, take it over. And then maybe if that right hip can touch the floor, you can do that double bend. Just make sure your left foot is nice and flat on the floor, and you hug the knee in, wrap it into the crook of that right elbow and the left hand behind you. So again, there's no discount if you want to keep this right leg straight. If that's what's going to make the difference for you twisting on a straight spine versus a curved spine, by all means, please extend that right leg long. And then again, rotate that left shoulder back and behind you. Chin down, swivel your gaze to the back of the room, and your variation. So maybe you crossed over with that left elbow, maybe you have a bind, whatever you like to do. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, see if you can twist a little bit deeper. And I like to think I'm holding us for equal amounts of time on each side. If you ever find that I'm not, just modify it, fix it. Nice. And just to practice that change, right, that little switcheroo, place the left elbow inside so you'll come to your reverse twist, right, counter twist. And if you want to try, just place the hands down to your right side. Come on up to the balls of your feet, walk your hands clockwise this time, and cross over to the other side. Here, try it again. Go the other way. I'm sure I look really graceful here. All right, soles of the feet together, Baddha Konasana. Grab your asana and pull those hips, the flesh behind you. Inhale, long spine, and exhale, forward. Notice if there's a difference between the first time we did Baddha Konasana. Oh, and something else, you could, if you feel like it, you could peel those feet open a little bit like a book. It's really up to you. So we're going to go from here into pigeon pose. And just to be really clear, pigeon, face down pigeon pose is not for everyone. Your alternative is going to be on your back, right ankle across that left thigh, and then pull your left thigh in, right? Your shoulders down. So this is a kinder, gentler pigeon. Just make sure you utilize, whichever modifications are right for you. So for the rest of us who want to do the prone pigeon, face down, we're going to keep the right knee where it is, sit off to the right hip, left leg behind you, and just make sure, look back behind you and make sure that left leg is down the middle of your mat and not splayed off to the side. The other thing you want to check, this right knee is off the edge of your mat and your right hand is inside. You can lift that back knee and walk the knee back a few inches and lay it down. You could also wriggle the right foot forward, trying to bring it parallel with the top edge of your mat. You could also use a little block to help keep your hips level. First, stop onto the elbows. Maybe you're stacking fists, forehead on the stacked fists. If you feel like you can go deeper here, wide elbows, flat hands, forehead, backs of hands. And there's always full prostration, hands out, chest to the mat, chin or forehead to the mat. And there could even be a twist here with a bind. So you know your variations, whatever's accessible to you. And we'll be here for about 10 more breaths. So use the inhalation to fill up, to nourish yourself, to elongate your spine. Use the exhalation to deepen the pose, to relax, to let go, to ground yourself. 5 more breaths. Come out of the pose. If you're facing down, hands under the shoulders and lift yourself up. If you're on your back, simply uncross that right leg, feet on the floor, and you can do a bridge pose. For the rest of us, let's do a little back bend here. So you can come up to the fingertips and arch, right? That may be perfect for you. If you want a bind, you can bend that left knee, reach around with your left arm. So my hand is on the inside of the left foot, my thumb is pointing up, and then you could take a bind here. So in the crook of that elbow and go Mukhasana hands. So just keep in mind, that's maybe not for everybody, right? You get to decide. And then when you're ready, you can release that. And then go ahead and if you're facing down, you're gonna sit off to your right hip, bring those feet back to Baddha Konasana. If you're on your back, you can also do Baddha Konasana, right? On your back, you can hold the soles of your feet together and drop the heels down toward your groin. And just notice if you feel a little bit more softness on the right side, the side that we just did. And again, if you're on your back, feet flat, this time the left ankle cross, and you're gonna hug that right thigh in. For the rest of us, lean over to that left side, slide your right leg back behind you, square the hips, and you're gonna lift that right knee up and then maybe walk back a few inches. My left knee is pointing off the mat. My right leg is down the middle of the mat. Okay, and we're gonna slowly melt down to the elbows, stack fists, forehead, back of hands. For those who want to go a little deeper, elbows wide, hands flat, forehead, back of hands. And full prostration would have your chest on the floor, either chin or forehead on the floor, and your arms reaching forward, or any other variations you enjoy. And we're here for about 10 more breaths. So for those on their backs, you can uncross that left leg, feet flat on the floor, and lift your hips up for bridge. For the rest of us, you can hands under shoulders, walk yourself up. Start out with the back bend here. This is a lovely protected back bend. Having that left knee forward keeps that tailbone pointing down and therefore keeps some of that flexion out of the lumbar spine and moves it up into the thoracic spine. A little bit safer. And then of course, if you wanted that bind, you could always bend the right knee, bring the right hand to the inside, right thumb pointing up, and you can stay here, or you can find that bind as we did on the other side with the right toe in the crook of the right elbow and maybe the left arm up and over for the Gomukhasana hands. If you're on your back, you're going to stay there. We're joining you there in just a moment. When you're done here, you can release. You can sit off to that left hip and roll onto your back. Separate your feet to the outer edges of your mat and windshield wipe your knees and really take time here. See if you can let that inner knee touch down. You'll stretch the hip flexor on that side, and then try the other side, stretching that hip flexor. If it doesn't make you dizzy, you can also move your head from side to side. And then we're coming into final relaxation, Shavasana. For those of you, if you are protecting your lower back, any squeakiness happening there, you can always do your final relaxation with knees bent. Just simply walk your toes towards each other, heels are wide, and tent the knees. And that'll just release your lumbar spine to the floor, a little bit more relaxing. Or if you're fine with this, just stretch the legs wide, tuck the buttocks under you so that the knees and toes splay out to either side. And then regardless of how you've chosen to put your legs, tuck your shoulder blades beneath you, those scapula, so that you're creating a little bit of cleavage behind you and expanding through the chest. Palms face up, and practice or play with different variations for your arms. So for me, the most comfortable, my arms are about 45 degrees from my body, but you can try shoulder height. You could also cactus your arms, see if that feels good to you. And then another variation is just hands right on your hip bones, right on the ilium. You get to decide. And then if there's any tension remaining on your neck, you can always tuck your chin, releasing that tension, and then let the head come back into neutral. Lips are touching, eyes are closed, and we'll be here for a few minutes in Shavasana. You can always extend this and make Shavasana as long as you like. The more, the better. Shavasana is the opportunity for our bodies to integrate all of the movements that we've made in the past hour. So keep in mind, it's like someone used the example of baking cookies. When you take them out of the oven and they're still hot, they're really mushy, right? You try and lift them up, they kind of fall apart. But if you let them cool just a little bit, they toughen up, right? They kind of integrate and they become those delicious, chewy, maybe even crunchy cookies that you were hoping for. So that's what we're doing here in Shavasana, is allowing ourselves to come into balance, right? Balancing out the stress hormones with our dopamine and serotonin, and just allowing ourselves to get a little crispy. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. Feel free to use a mind tool, a mantra, such as in, out, or rising as you inhale and falling as you exhale. If you prefer, you can use Sanskrit. My favorite, so, hum. So means I am, hum, all that is. Inhaling so, exhaling hum. And as many times as you forget, gently, without judgment, guide yourself back to your mantra, to your breath. Feel free to stay here for as long as you desire. Namaste.